Well, it's true, and hopefully the next 20 minutes will convince you that what we're doing in Green Lab Skive is kind of a first, and something that we're quite proud of as well, since we started the initiative in a very small, very local community. And we're trying to make a big impact on the world, and we're also having a bit of success with that in a modest Danish way of saying it. So what is Green Lab actually? That's obviously the main question, and the question that everyone always punks us about. Well, it's an industrial energy park. It's a site. It's 60 acres that is located in Denmark, northwest part of Denmark. And the difference between a normal industrial park is that it has an add-on. We have an internal grid where our companies that are located within the business park, they exchange their surplus energy and their surplus resources. And you can't be part of the business park unless you're part of that internal grid and also the internal organization. So that's kind of the add-on. And it's not for everyone, but it's for the front runners in the green transition. Where are we, this little secret place? It's just here in Jutland. We're a bit farther up north now. And it's also a point to be made today where we're also addressing how do we drive this transition, and also what are the difficulties, what are the enablers for a green transition. That we started as a local initiative within the Skive municipality. There's a team that is designed and set up within the municipality to drive company growth in the area in order to attract talents, in order to attract companies and growth in the municipality. And we had this notion that we could build a business park. The first idea was to build just a power-to-gas facility, and then we thought then our happiness will be done and we will attract lots of people and lots of companies to the municipality and all will be good. And as things happen, they develop once you get to working with it. So this is how we started with the idea of Green Lab, and the end of Green Lab is that we have this internal grid that we're building. And what is this grid, this symbiosis net that we're talking about? And that is very much our enabler for creating the circular economy. It is a symbiotic network where the companies that place their full-scale production in Green Lab, they can exchange, they can use the internal grid to exchange. And we, at the center of the business park, we're responsible for the exchange going on. And all the capabilities at the that are present at the area is both gas and various forms of gas, and also green electricity coming in from a windmill park that is under, at the moment it's in the planning phase, and it will be constructed in 2020. So the area has its own supply of green electricity coming in. I think one of the points I would like to make today is also that in order for this to happen, there needs to be it needs to go in all at once. It needs to be full scale, it needs to be all loops, and it needs to happen at one time. That is one of the things that we have seen over the last years, that we can't just do biomass value chain, or we can't just focus on green electricity. We can put up lots of windmills in the area, and we already have. But if that is the only thing we're doing, then we won't create a truly circular economy. So we need to have the windmills and the solar cells, and we need to have the companies that utilizes the green electricity quite close, also due to the coming regulations as well. So that is one of the things that we try to drive in the transition. We also focused on getting, for instance, the water loop in. because if you have biomass, plants present at the area, you also need to take into account how we're going to address the processed water, how we're going to address the water uses, the utilizations, and then use that problem as a driver for creating more circularity and also creating more growth in the area by saying what can we do with the problem water? Can we extract various minerals, various enzymes, anything from the water that is going through the system? How can we tackle that? And can we use that problem to land more companies that can add to the circular economy of our system, of our already existing system? And just to say, is this just one happy notion that a municipality in Denmark thought up, or is there actually someone willing to work with you on this? Yes, luckily, because this is not something we can do on our own. We have, now that we are a company in our own mind, our own sets, we have the municipality, Skive municipality as a partner, as owner, and we have the utility company, Eni, which is the local utility company, also as a partner and owner of GreenLab Skive. We have our commercial partners, which include both some on a global scale and also some on a local scale. For instance, you can see we have a company like Dive, which is a local Skive company that is experts in control systems. They also have export to various parts of the world, but they're locally based. And it's important for us to also have locally based companies in the GreenLab Skive area. We also have companies like Siemens Gamesa, who's obviously a global player, a global company, that are coming in with their expertise in GreenLab. So it's a bit of a mixture. And I think that's also one of the things that are interesting for us to discuss maybe further later today, how you create this mixture of stakeholders and how you drive the stakeholders in the same direction, or how you hurt their different interests in order to create a direction. GreenLab reconstructs sustainable production for a greener future. This is what we say we do. This is what we try to do every day. We have our principles, where the two first principles are the one that is always our guidelines in everything we do. It needs to have a positive community effect. Local growth, but with a global view based on trust. The second one that follows quite closely, it's that it needs to have a competitive advantages. If we don't have that, we don't have any circular economy. There needs to be a bottom line, and it needs to be black, no red numbers. So if we can achieve both, then it is a success in our book. If we can only create one of them, the chances are we won't do it. It doesn't fit into the GreenLab area or into the GreenLab consortium. The last one that I want to point attention to today is that it's a global frontrunner. And when we say global frontrunner, it is to show it, don't tell it. Don't use years and years of planning. We try, we fail, and we try again. We correct and we learn from our mistakes. So we're very much in the doing business, in the practice business, and we'll continue to do that because that's also a way of driving the green transition and also to creating an acceleration effect. If we try, we do, we use it, interact with it, find out what works, what doesn't work, cut the losses, and move on. I touched upon this a little. Since we were born as a an initiative within a municipality. Obviously, we have this very community-based principles, but we brought that with us in also the when we moved on as a company, because we see that it works. We say that we are working with a trust-based culture, where obviously there needs to be contracts, but it's a trust-based culture as opposed to a contractual culture. We mean that quite literally, since we had 2 of our companies within the business park actually started their construction before the municipality went in with their land development. So they said, we're going to build. And we said, well, there's no water. So what are you going to do? We don't know, we'll fix it. Well, we are not going to come until maybe a year and a half after you started building. Is that really okay with you? Can you drive your production that way? Yes, we can, and yes, we will. We'll wait for you. We're ready to go. So it's not just something that we say, it's something that we do. And we do it in a very matter-of-fact way and with very factual ways of doing it. And what we achieve when we have this trust-based culture, as opposed to the contractual culture, is that we create this dialogue between the global investments, the local ownership, knowledge, and resources. Because I think also a point is that when we talk about circular economy, there's a notion of the place-based that you need to address. We can't transport materials everywhere. They have a distance before they lose their value. We need to have, for instance, a local community to accept that you're coming with windmills. The project that is coming into GreenLab has 13 mills. That's quite a large windmill project in Denmark for land-based anyway. And if you don't have the community respond in a positive way, if they don't see the benefits of a biogas plant coming in or a plastic to liquid plant coming in, if they don't see that they benefit from that, it won't happen. There'll be too much protest, there's going to be too much difficulties for the companies to be interested in having their production on site. And also, if you don't have a different approach to your business, you won't be interested in being part of an internal grid, because that also comes with a bit of demands on your side. So this is where we are today. We had the groundbreaking at the area in 18. We have 4 factories in operation when we finish 19. And in 2020, we'll be in full operation and we'll be ready to start operations at international sites in 2021, which is also what we're looking into, because obviously this is our first site and this is where we're going to prove it works. And then it's not only going to be an project in the municipality of Skive, it's going to have a broader reach because we're working with global solutions. I just brought with me a couple of examples in order to you to see that this is not just a PowerPoint, but actually full-scale businesses placed there. This is the company Quantifuel, which is actually originally a Norwegian company, where the technology was also developed, I think in part also with help from Sintef, yes? And they have chosen to place their first full-scale production in GreenLab because of the culture that we represented, where they could very easily have access to land. They could easily have access to this internal grid, where they could, of course, lower their energy costs. And they could also interact very easily with the other companies. And I think that was a huge advantage for them when they chose their site. And for me to say, was that the tipping point of Quantafuel choosing to locate the first full-scale production in Denmark or not? I think it has to do with the culture of saying, yes, we can make it work for you. We will help you with whatever difficulties you have. We don't know all the answers, but we'll definitely stand alongside with you and figuring out how we're going to overcome them and help you with that. So if you want to start a green transition, it has to do with both top level and the devil that is in the details. You need to have a strategy in order to show which direction do you want to go. You need to be able to address the board levels and go there. And you need also to be able to go to the production site and say, well, if that wiring is going in there, then we're not going to do an internal grid that can exchange all the residual heat, for instance. So we need to accommodate that and do something different. So, and as well, you need to be able to stand alongside the business owners and say, well, what is your pain today? How can we fix that? How can we help it? Another case that I brought with me is and I brought these two because they're quite different. Quantafuel takes waste plastic and turns it into synthetic diesel. And that is one value chain we have going in through GreenLab Skive, and the other one is the biomass value chain, which here Danish Marine Protein is a company that processes starfish, which is an invasive species in Denmark and in the Limfjord, which is quite close to GreenLab Skive, and they process it into to feed for organic feed for animals, and it's quite simple, that they actually just dry the starfish and crushes it, and it's able to function as a organic feed. Between these two companies, there's an exchange of heat, since the Quantafuel has an excess of heat, and Niels Jørgen, the director of Danish Marine Protein, needs the heat for him to dry the starfish, which is a very little loop within GreenLab, but also a loop that makes a lot of sense, since Danish Marine Protein wants to be 100% green. That is their production add-on. That is their sell, that they have a product that is 100% green, and if he has a green product and he also has a green production, because he receives his green electricity from GreenLab and he receives heat from GreenLab, then he has a green production and product. So the culture that we seek, the strategy, the culture, what is it that makes this transition work, and what have made it difficult to work, is that it takes humans. There's no way around it. If there isn't a person standing somewhere along the line saying, I think this is going to work, will you go along with me, and will you form the vision with me? Will you find all the difficulties? Will you try to solve them alongside me? It's never going to happen. So for us to say what have been the two most important things, it has been our courage and it has been our curiosity to figure out how we're going to make this work. There's been an immense workload in, for instance, creating the regulatory boundaries around GreenLab, saying how can we make this work? We know there's laws coming that says you need to be closer to, for instance, your green electricity. You can't keep buying certificates from the other end of the world and say I have a green product because I brought green electricity from I don't know where, Africa maybe. So, but if you need to make it work now within the boundaries that we have now, it is quite difficult. And if you don't have people who are willing to stand up for that goal and continuously stand up for that goal, it is never going to happen. So I would say go and find your most valuable and most stubborn people within the company and give them a task, and every time they come back and say, oh, it's not going to work, say, well, please continue, try again. And then maybe it will work eventually. We hope so.
All right, thank you.